Welcome to episode 7 of Behind the Bombers, the series where we go beyond the boundary line and dive into the heart and soul of the Bay and Basin Bombers Football Club. I'm your host, Nathan D-Train Darvill, and each week I sit down with one of our players, staff, or club legends to chat about all things footy, life, and a few laughs along the way. This series is all about showcasing the people who make Bay and Basin Bombers what it is. Not just the effort on game day, but the personalities, the passion, and the community spirit that runs through the club. Today I'm joined by none other than Harry Blocker, a familiar face around the club and someone who's built a reputation for his commitment, grit, and a fair bit of mischief too, I'm sure. Let's get into it. First of all, Harry, welcome. Can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do for a living, and how you come to play footy with the Bay and Basin Bombers?
Thanks, D-Train. Pleasure to be here. I've been watching the episodes as they come out, and stoked to be on the app for the week. My name's Harry Block. I'm originally from the bush, West Wyalong. I grew up on a farm out there, started playing footy. In Auskick. My best mate at the time, Ben Lamb, he started Auskick, and I wanted to join him. And probably since I was 8 years old, we had under 12s, 14s, and 17s out there. So I started playing when I was 8, and I just footy. So eventually, when my family sold the farm we lived on, we had 13,000 acres out there. We moved into town and became a townie and started playing some other sport, but ultimately it was footy, Aussie rules that I loved. Played rugby league for a few years and broke a few bones, and came back to the good side and went to university in Canberra, where I spent sort of 10 years ultimately. Studied exercise physiology and rehabilitation. Graduated in 2018. Went and worked at a private EP company. It was a non-for-profit called the YMCA Health and Wellbeing Centre. Cut my teeth there for 2 years and then started my own company, PB Physiology, and we're still operating in Canberra now. And more recently, last November, I moved down to Sussex Inlet in Bri with my wife, Naomi, and our 2.5-year-old Billy Block. So Naomi, my wife, grew up in Sussex and loved it down here, loves the coast lifestyle. And she always wanted to start a family down the coast. So, we were always going to head back here. It just was when could I make it work with my company in Canberra. So ultimately got in a really good position where I had a few employees on and was able to pass off my workload. That snowballed into me now working out of the Anytime Fitness in Vincentia, and working in Vincentia led me to the Main Basin Bombers. I sort of was looking around at the South Coast comp and had no idea it was so large. I sort of saw that the Bay and Basin Bombers were just around the corner from where I was working, and that's how I came to settle at the Basin.
What a story, mate. And like you, I've also come from Canberra for a little bit as well, and I do miss Canberra, but I do love the coast as well. So luckily Canberra's not too far away if we ever want to go for a trip or grab some good food or whatever. There's great places there. So great, mate. Thanks for that intro. Just a quick question. How much is the club paying you to play for the Bay and Basin Bombers, or is that being kept under wraps?
No, just doing it out of the goodness of my heart. I'm not sure they want to pay me anything. Honestly, it's footy's been a part of my life forever. So the idea of not playing footy is a bit daunting for me. It's just such a great environment to make new friends. The Bombers have just been so friendly, and ever since I rocked up that first training session, and I think it was before Christmas, it was pretty good numbers there actually. I didn't really know what level to expect, but what I did receive was a lot of genuine people there who love footy and just wanted to welcome me in, and everyone was friendly and keen, and where are you from, who do you play for, who do you follow, and from then it's been easy as that. Like everyone's so welcoming. So yeah, it's a good club to be in, and a really nice family club as well. Like you know, you see there's partners there training together, and then their kids are running around like little bond. Like it's just really cool. So it's a club that I love to be a part of.
You're kind of trying to jump ahead on my questions with your answers, but that's okay. Maybe one day you can make it and be the host of this show one day. But let me ask the questions. But this is sort of leads on from what you were just saying anyway. So you've joined the Bay and Basin Bombers. You've played plenty of AFL in the past before for different clubs, and I'm definitely not asking you to compare certain clubs. But what I want to know is what has set this club apart from maybe some other clubs you played at in the past, both on and off the field, I guess?
That's a good question. It's tough because each club, I haven't played for that many, but each club holds a special part of my heart there. Obviously, the West Island Bulldogs, that's the club I grew up with as a junior, and then ultimately started playing seniors there, which is a really country club. It's footy based, so it's got a lot of similarities to the Bay and Basin Bombers.
Hmm.
The standard of footy is pretty similar. The family based values that the club has is very similar. Where when I was playing at Eastlake, that's a semi-professional club where it was a lot more serious in terms of training expectation, commitment to being a player, sort of devotion and time is much higher, and pressure's probably a bit higher depending on what grade you play.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, probably I think like I mentioned before, just the family sort of vibe that Bay and Basin bring, and everyone's welcome, and it's just such a sort of wholesome sort of club. So that's probably its most defining characteristic. If I had to pick one, that would be it.
Awesome. Look, we've only played, I think, what, 5 games this year, one washout and something else. But anyway, 5 games in. When you look back at the 5 games you played for the club so far, does any particular game stand out as a highlight, or is there any particular game that you've got a fond memory of already?
Oh, I think it's really hard to go past that win against Kiama round one. I was one of the debutants for the club. I think we had 12 from memory, which, I've never been a part of a club that's had 12 new blokes playing on the weekends. And, you don't know how you're going to gel as a team. So I had no idea what to expect. And to go out and, that first 5-10 minutes, they made us look pretty bad and got out to an early lead. I said, oh, shit, mate, we might be in for a tough day. But the Bombers rallied, and slowly but surely we clawed back in there and kicked some good goals, and we had some younger players kick some absolutely stunning goals. Inside out bananas, all the rest of it, and not until the very end did we know we were going to win that game. I remember looking at the clock, thinking there's sort of 4 minutes to go, and there's only a few points in it, and I was looking at me and Scotty. We were shattered in the midfield, so just trying to get to the next contest and impact it. And I was like, mate, if we don't get there, or say if they win that contest and go inside, we're done. So for us to sort of pull off that win and to Finn kick the goal on the boundary to seal it, that was awesome. So yeah, lots of good memories from that game. We had another one of your guests give the shush to the crowd after his stint in the ruck, which was Jacob. So no,
Yeah,
that was
isn't he a character, that one? But yeah, that was, and I must admit, that was my first full game for the club, and I had to leave slightly early for another commitment. And when I left, the game was in the balance, and I was shattered that I had to leave and leave you guys to it. But when I was watching it flow on, and the fact that you guys were able to kick a couple of late goals and win it, sometimes you have to win some of these games ugly. It was the first game of the season, so. As you've seen, we're only going upwards since then. So
quite
yeah, it's a
close.
good thing. Um, you have talked about this, so you don't probably have to spend heaps of time on this question. But how would you describe the club's culture at the moment?
Mm. Yeah, just really friendly. Sort of everyone's welcome. There's some clubs that you might have been involved in the past that are a little bit cliquey, and there's certain groups that you don't even feel like they know your name or they want to talk to you. But I can honestly say that I could go and have a yarn to anyone at training, and you'd just be met with a friendly sort of response, and everyone's always keen to chat. So it's a really welcoming footy club. So no, it's been a pleasure.
Nice one. Um, you've got to know a fair few of the players already, but who do you reckon one of the probably underrated players are in the team who probably deserves more recognition than they're getting?
I reckon. I reckon. Is it Daniel? He plays on the
Yeah,
wing for it.
Daniel Tudad's the one with the combo name.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I think
So
for a
sorry
young
if you
guy,
sorry if he's listening. I don't know how to say the last two names, but Daniel, yeah.
Daniel's good. Danny Boy's good.
Yeah.
I reckon he deserves a shout out. Just I'm not sure how much footy he's played, but he's a natural athlete, and I think some of the presence he's brought to some tight games, like our hardest games, he's been in there winning the footy and then working outside on the wing to create contests for us. I think I reckon he's getting bigger every time I see him. And he's just developing as a footballer already. In 5 games this year, he's getting better and better. So I think he probably deserves a bit of a shout out. And then I reckon the other guy is Adders. I believe he's an older boy like yourself.
Yeah.
I think what he's given us up forward on the forward flank, leading up the ground contestedly with his hands, but also his willingness to move up the ground and win the footy and deliver it down deeper. Like, it's really hard to play that position, that centre half forward position.
Hmm.
I think he does it really well. So it's been great playing with those
Yeah.
two young folks.
They're definitely a couple of definitely high flyers this year for us, and yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to have those two blokes in the team, along with everyone else that's in the team, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, Rightio, so I've been around sport my whole life, and I've spoken to many people about, pre-game rituals and so forth. There's talk about, do I wear the same bloody undies? Do I wash those same undies? Do I have a certain type of undersock I wear or type of boots? During your sporting career, have you ever had some sort of pre-game ritual that you like to do, even before the game leading in or something?
Uh, Look, when I first joined the club, they sent me a thing, what to do, a bit of a getting to know you thing for the social media, and they
Yeah.
talked about a ritual, and I mentioned eating a Subway footlong in the morning before the game, and I did that probably for a lot of my career in Canberra because one, it was just a white bread, bit of salad, something that I can handle pretty easy. Down the coast here, I haven't had anything like that because of where I'm living. But I've always tried to keep it pretty cool before the game, like not worry too much about footy. Like I can even just sitting here now thinking about footy, like I get so excited I can't go to sleep. So I try not to think about it. And I'm probably someone who does dwell on games longer than he should. Like if there's something that I've done, I'll think about, I should have straightened up before I had that set shot on goal, or I should have just put a bit more body on before I tried to take the mark. And I think for me, the more I think about it, the worse I play. So I'm trying to just not think about it and just do what feels right in the moment, which has led me to do some stupid things before games. Like when I was younger, I felt a bit tired, so instead of drinking more water and making sure I was properly hydrated, I drank a 750 ml Dare iced coffee, and yeah, so halfway through the first quarter, I found myself on the toilet and I couldn't get off it for the rest of the game. I was incapacitated on the dunny, so yeah, a bit embarrassing, but I think I've matured certainly as I've gotten older, and just light meal, plenty of banter, keep it fun, don't worry too much about the game, and then when it's time to go, switch on. Really, just switch on and try and lift the intensity and remember we've got a job to do and focus on my role within the team.
So no pre-game rituals, just focused on the footy, and that's about it. Don't get too
Yeah,
invested.
nothing crazy, nothing crazy, nothing crazy.
Awesome. We're going to move on to some family work outside of footy type questions. One of the questions you sort of answered at the start about the makeup of your family and what you do, but I guess I'd like to know, you were talking to me off air about your business and how you've got an office in Canberra and you're doing work down here on the South Coast as well. So how are you balancing up, having a company, working heavily, and also being able to fit footy in between?
Look, it's certainly a juggle at times. I think um, over the last couple of months, I've probably felt a little bit more pressure as my wife is pregnant. So she's entering her third trimester now, and she's at home looking after our 2.5-year-old. You mentioned the move to the coast. We haven't been able to get childcare. Um, we've got one day at the moment, so that's limited how much time my wife can work, and then it's also puts a bit more pressure on her to, be looking after Billy for more or less full time. And she does work for us in a administration role, so she's juggling a few roles there. In terms of working with the team in Canberra, like I really enjoy having the team back in Canberra. I love Canberra. You mentioned you do as well. Like I'm going back there this weekend to see the team on Friday and on Saturday, and we're going to do a professional development as a team run by a physiotherapy clinic called Fortis Physio. And whenever I go back to Canberra, it's an opportunity to bond as a team and sort of grow and learn. That's what sort of the theme has developed. So when I go back there, my business partner he's from Canberra originally as well, but he did the same thing I had done. He moved up to Maroochydore to start, another part of a business up there. So we're in Maroochydore, the South Coast, and in Canberra. And this was my best mate that we started the company with. So for a long time, it was just me and him, on the floor. You'd have the same experience working with clients and then going home and doing the admin after. And now we've sort of developed into the point where we've got, 5 full-time EPs, and our role has changed from being the face-to-face, person who's delivering all the services, and we're now managing a team and finding direction for the company, but also developing the employees we have and improving our services. That's something that we really sort of put a lot of time and effort into, and we've recruited well in terms of our employees in Canberra. We've had some awesome sort of guys and girls come onto the team now who have enriched us with their knowledge and passed on stuff that they've learned over the journey. And I think the big thing to remember for us, particularly as an exercise physiologist, is there's constantly new evidence and research coming out, and we're constantly learning more and more. And every day's a school day. When you stop learning, you stop growing. So whenever I go back to Canberra, that's a theme. We get to get together as a crew, learn something new, and then spend a bit of time together. So no, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. And it's great to see you, doing your study in the field and then starting your own thing, and sounds like it's still scaling up. So it's a credit to you and your team as well. So well done.
Too bad.
So family plays a huge role in sport, from the perspective of, family kind of needs to be supportive for us to be able to go and do what we love every weekend. So over your footy journey, how have you had good support around you to enable you to, enjoy footy on the weekends and play?
So I already mentioned it, but Ben Lamb, my best mate as a junior, he's still one of my best mates now, but he got me into Aussie rules footy, and my mum was instrumental to getting me to games and one training a week. Like we lived on the outskirts, well, we live 50 k's from town, and she would make the effort to drive me in for training on a Thursday, and then often I would stay Thursday night and Friday night with my mate in town, and then the Lambs, their family would look after me, and then take me to the game on the Saturday if my mum couldn't do it. So it was certainly an effort between my mum and some of my mates' families. My father was in a car accident in 2001, so he was left physically and mentally disabled after a traumatic brain injury. So he was unable to take me to games and that sort of thing. So I had to rely on my mates and their families. And obviously mum was his full-time carer whilst on the farm. So she was juggling, part-time work, full-time carer, and there was me, my brother, and my sister there. So for me, footy was always a really fun thing. I'd go to footy training and I wouldn't have to worry about anything. It was just the thing that I loved the most, and it's sort of always stayed that way throughout my life. So yeah, I was really lucky. So shout out to the Lambs and obviously my mum, who ensured I got to the footy on the weekend.
Hey, that's an incredible story, and I'm sorry about the accident from your father's perspective. But yeah, I think a lot of people will resonate with growing up with footy and having parents who had to front the load to get us there to do the passion that we love. So yeah, that's a pretty cool story, mate, and that sounds. A lot like the country footy lifestyle, that not everyone living close to town, but everyone rallying around to make sure on a Saturday or a Sunday you take the field and you play the sport you love. So that's pretty cool, mate.
Yeah, bloody oath. Couldn't agree more.
Look, you were mentioning before, and you're relating it to your work about how we're always developing and we got to keep learning or we get left behind, sort of thing. But in footy, and I know this for a fact because footy's been a part of my life for I think 36 out of 42 years, and I'm constantly learning things from footy that I take into my everyday life, including how I father and different things. So my question to you is, what have you taken away from footy that's helped you be the man you are today?
I think, yeah, footy's an amazing thing, not just because it's a really fun sport to play, but it connects you with other people and it gives you an opportunity to learn from other people. Like at the Eastlake Footy Club where I spent, 10 years playing in Canberra, there was various unbelievable role models at that club, Pete McGrath, Dan Ryle, Jeremy Rowe, a few other guys throughout the journey. One thing that I've taken away from my time at Eastlake is, footy is a fantastic environment to be in, but it can also be a really sort of important support network for some people. And certainly for mental health wise for men, I think footy plays a special role in that. It gives blokes an opportunity to come together, socialise. That might be an opportunity where they talk to someone about some of the difficulties they're going on through their life. They've experienced it. And at Eastlake, they had a really strong sort of at least once a year we would all meet together, and not to get on the piss or do anything like that. It was solely just to get up and each person in the team would get up and spend a few minutes. And one year we did one exercise. It was called the highlight, the hero, and the hardship of your life. And I got asked to speak. And I remember getting out there and talking about those three things: my highlight, my hero, my hardship. And I was very vulnerable when I spoke and emotional. And it just glued us together as a unit. Like it really brought the whole team together. Hearing about your mate's hardship that normally you never talk about. One, it empowers that person, but it also gives you some perspective into their life and some of the challenges that they've had, and that brings you together. So I think footy can be a really special place, and not often you get a group of blokes who, meet up and talk about their adversity and their challenges and how they get through it. I think that's really rare, and I couldn't imagine that happening at many other places than a footy club. So, yeah, it's a really special place, I think.
That's really amazing that you bring that stuff up, and I think that I wasn't expecting the question and the answer to go in that direction, but I think it's amazing because we're just about to lead into Men's Mental Health Week. I don't know if you're aware of that, Harry, but it's I think it's at the 9th to the 15th of June, and I just posted a video on my socials, the club socials, and my LinkedIn page as well. And it's an important reminder that, all us men, we carry some baggage around at all times, and sometimes it is good to be vulnerable, like you were able to be in that moment. That, yeah, as you can see now, had a flow-on effect to probably other people being able to open up and feel secure in that environment. So hats off to you, and yeah, shout out to all those men out there, struggling with stuff at the moment. I see you, I hear you, and there's always help out there. So don't feel like you're doing it alone. Um, so I don't think everyone knows everything about you because we do hold certain things to ourselves, maybe hidden talents or abilities. But what's
Yes.
something that the club doesn't know about you right now? It could be a story, it could be a talent, that you want to use this airtime to let everyone know so they can pay you out about it at training.
Oh gosh, there's plenty of stories I could tell that might not be totally suitable to the viewership, but yeah, look, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't have any hidden talents. I can talk pretty well. I've been known to have a yak and have a yarn and that sort of thing, but no special talent that would be of any interest. Embarrassing stories, plenty of embarrassing stories. One of my first nights out in Canberra, I was on the. I just met all the guys at East Lake Footy Club. I just met all the senior players. I've been to a couple of training runs. My cousin, who was the ex-coach and a senior player at the time, brought me in and introduced me to everyone and sort of vouched for me. And I was out on a uni pub night with all my mates from UC, and we sort of been doing a pub crawl, and then around 9 o'clock in Civic, I bumped into all the East Lake boys, and like, oh, Blocky, mate, you come out with us, and 18-year-old, fresh from the country, been in Canberra for not a very long time, maybe a month, and they took me to uni pub, which I don't know if you ever done any time there, mate, but there was $2 drinks. All the older guys said, "Yeah, let's get a tray each." So they went out, they got a tray each, and I wanted to be one of the boys, so I got a tray and drinks. And the next thing I remembered, I woke up the next morning in my undies in a white cell and was thrown in a sober cell. So I hadn't had any memory of the night before, and slowly but surely the pieces started to come back. But I got booted out of that sober cell at 7 a.m. And the blokes, I said, I don't know how to get home. My phone's down, I got no money. And he just said, mate, piss off. You're in Ainsley sober cell. And I said, I don't even know where Ainsley is. How am I going to get back to Belconnen? I'm at the uni. And he more or less drew me a map and sent me on my way. And, I spent the next 4 hours trying to get home. And eventually I stumbled in and everyone said, Blocky, mate, where you been? And, the story sort of developed. And yeah, the what ended up happening is I had those 6 drinks and more or less had too much and needed to go home and started to, lose consciousness. And copper saw me and told me to get in the car. And one of the East Lake boys put me in a cab and was taking me home. And I started vomiting in the car all over the taxi driver. Taxi driver hit the emergency, yeah, all over the taxi driver, hit the emergency button. The emergency button goes off. The cops think that we're robbing the taxi driver. The cops come up behind us. My mate jumps out and he's holding my head up to stop me from choking on my own vomit. And they think my mate's robbing the taxi driver. They cuff him, put him in cuffs. And then I come to and sprint out of the taxi across the Northbourne nature strip. And I eventually get tackled by a copper. And I have no memory of this, so you're going to trust Gibbo, who told the story. But after he tackled me, I accidentally vomited on him, and I ended up getting locked up in the sober cell. So there's an embarrassing story that I probably shouldn't have told, but it happened over 10 years ago. So that's my embarrassing story.
Well, I think there's a couple of things to take out of this, and that's for anyone listening. The next time we have a function, tray of drinks for Harry is a must.
Mm.
But secondly, I don't think this you needed much explanation of the story past university, pub
Mm.
crawl, and alcohol. As soon as you say
Yeah.
those three things combined, we all know where the direction's going. But it was a bloody good story, mate.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, no worries.
Um, Look, I don't know whether there's anyone in our footy club who you would bring to your workplace for the day, but here's a question for you. If you were to bring some teammates to your workplace, who would survive a day at your workplace and who would you probably fire very quickly?
Well, it's funny you asked that because I've had two members, or three really, members of the footy club at my workplace. Stubber, our coach, is doing his cert form fitness and he needed someone to supervise him. So I've been his supervisor, and he brought along Dane as one of his personal training clients. So I had to
Yeah.
supervise him train Dane, and then Haley from the women's team came in and did a session, and so did Tash. So there's already been a few. Um, Look, I'd probably keep Stubber around. He did a good job. And Dane, he's a talented football player, but he didn't know his way around the weight room, so he'd probably get the axe, I reckon.
Uh,
He looks like he's there, but no, I'd keep Stubber in there. That'd be good.
that's fair enough. Do you reckon you'd give Sam Stubbs a run in there?
Well, we know from his, I'm not sure of the name of the competition, but he sounds like he's been in the gym every morning. Like at CrossFit, he's lifting heavy weight and he's getting it done. So I'd love to see the man in the gym. It sounds like he's got an appetite to shift heavy tins. So yeah, it'd be awesome to see him work.
I think it sounds like you're a bit worried if you bring Sam in, you're probably going to lose your job.
He'll make me look bad, that's for sure.
All right, we're moving on to the last section, which is a bit of fun. I know we've had a few fun questions in here already, but here's some more. Um, have you seen anyone with maybe some questionable fashion going on?
Well, there's one bloke at our footy club who, he's got a theme of at any opportunity he can get his kid off, and that's Big Jacob.
Yeah,
So it's probably a lack of fashion. Halftime kits off, tanning on. That's not something I see too much. But not otherwise. It's pretty good. Like all my mates back at home will tell you, I'm not the man to ask about fashion. I constantly cop shit for wearing Kmart gear in Canberra. And, what are you wearing that for? Like, mate, does the job. So
agreed.
I constantly get paid out for my or lack of fashion. So if you want fashion advice, I'd be sending you somewhere else.
That's fair enough. And I mean, to be fair, the most fashion we generally see, because we don't have a lot of social functions, is generally around our normal attire that I'm wearing now. So it's
Oh,
we
the
don't see
polos
a
are
yeah,
beautiful.
they're beautiful. They're a great polo, but we don't often see each other in normal clothes generally. So it's hard to get a good fashion sense. But yeah, I'm hearing you. Let's change that question to not who has the worst fashion sense, but who just doesn't worry about it, takes their kid off, and that's Jacob. So shout out to Jacob.
Yeah.
Um, Look, let's think of the Bombers as a reality show right now. Okay, so if we were a reality show, I'm going to ask you three minor questions here. Who would be the drama queen on the reality show?
It's drama queen. Drama queen, drama queen. Maybe Jack Allen. I reckon he
Oh my
likes a bit
gosh,
of drama.
that was in my head straight away.
You know what? I reckon he doesn't mind a bit of niggle. I've picked up on that. He likes a bit of niggle, not afraid for a push and shove. He'd be a bit of a drama starter, I reckon.
Who would be a prankster?
Oh, prankster. I can't go past that young crew. Like, you got Curls in there. You got Dan. You got that Finn crew. I reckon they could get up to some mischief.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say anyone that's sort of under 25 is a good chance of being the prankster. Fair,
Yeah.
because they haven't
Yeah.
quite got to the maturity level of not needing to prank everyone. So
No,
we'll.
that's right. Yeah, I'll be looking
Um,
at that in that crew. Maybe
who,
Sam
who,
Stubbs would get a run as well.
yeah,
He could get up to some mischief as well, I reckon.
absolutely, absolutely. And who would be one of the first to be voted out?
Yeah, first to be voted out. Tough to get rid of any of the Bombers, mate. They're such good people. Maybe myself for talking too much shit. I might get resold early. Yeah. I'm not too sure. Not too sure.
All right, so that's a good way of not, dumping any of your mates in it. So well done.
Yeah, thanks.
What's one of the weirdest? Like I've heard of some weird stuff being yelled from the sidelines, generally from supporters towards players. But What's one weird thing you might have heard either another player, an opposition player say out loud to someone, or something coming from the sidelines that just, yeah, seemed a bit weird and stupid?
Oh, I think back to last year's sort of final series, and I was on the hill with all the second grade Eastlake boys and the third grade boys, and the first grade were playing Belconnen at Ainsley in elimination final. James Bennett's last game. He's like a Belconnen legend, and they had thumped us all year in the first grade, and all of a sudden Eastlake had just absolutely put a clinic on elimination final and started destroying Belconnen. And there was a defender right in the pocket in front of us, and I don't know his name for Belconnen, and he was playing on one of our forwards, and that poor bloke, every single time one of our forwards kicked a goal, there was a guy sitting next to me just yelling at him, telling him, hang up his boots, he's done. That what's your name? What's your number? I'll send a welfare package to your house, mate, because you are getting a bar. And it just continued all game for this poor back pocket from Belco. He just got absolutely smashed, and the Eastlake supporter crew was relentless in heckling him. So yeah, shout out to that poor bastard.
Yeah, that is a tough day in the office, obviously for him. Um, so finish this sentence. You know it's going to be a big game day when.
When D-Train kicks a few goals, that's when it's going to be big. I haven't seen anyone celebrate a goal harder than you, mate. So that's for sure. I think you kicked two or three in the first quarter at home. Who was that against?
Northern Districts.
Northern Districts. Yeah, I honestly thought you were going to go hit 20 that day, the energy you were bringing. So yeah, maybe when you kick a couple of snags early, that's when you know it's going to be a big day.
I think one thing I found that's been good for me personally is that in the past I've probably been the go-to full forward in clubs, and you really need good support from the whole forward line to not only keep it in there and put pressure on, but you need other people contributing to goals. And whilst I love kicking goals, as you know, sometimes it's just great to share the goals around. And I haven't been so worried about how many goals. I know I talk about it a bit, but I don't actually care. I just love kicking a goal and celebrating, getting everyone pumped up. So yeah, hopefully there's a few more this weekend against the Blacks.
Yeah, look, I'm absolutely devastated. I can't be there. I was looking at the draw, thinking, oh yeah, well, if we're playing at home or in the morning, I'll drive from Canberra to Wollongong and get a game in. But the fact that it's at 2 p.m. has really stitched me up because I've got a fundraising gala event in Canberra that starts from 5:30, so I just can't get to both.
Oh, that's good, mate, because you're not that far behind me on the goal kicking ladder. So have a couple of weeks off, mate. No dramas. Uh,
Yeah, you got plenty of other competition, mate. Not from me.
yeah, I just got to shepherd Trey out a bit, get out of my way, mate.
Well, once he starts kicking a bit straighter, he'll dominate the league. So we'll
Absolutely.
see what happens.
This is the last question, mate, before we wrap up. So you're stuck on a deserted island with three Bombers teammates, and I know you'd love to take the whole team there. It'll be great having a bit of an island party, I'm sure. But narrow it down to three. Who do you choose, and who is definitely getting voted off off the island first?
Oh, good question. Good question. I'm just trying to think about some of the boys' occupations that would be helpful on the
That's so
island.
smart. So
Um,
smart to think like that.
yeah, like Jamie, I know he's an accountant, so he's probably not getting a call up. Dane does the kayaking, so it might be nice to have a kayak specialist on an island.
And
Um,
Scotty's a snorkeler, and
Scotty's a sort. He's at the mussel farm, so
yeah.
he could potentially create a mussel farm to sustain us. So maybe those two blokes, and maybe Stubber there for his wisdom. He can keep us all cool. And what was the next part? Who would get voted off?
Yeah, who would be out of there?
Um, I don't know, mate. Mate, maybe Dane because he's got a newborn at home, so he should be
Needs to
be
get
home
home.
with us and family. Yeah, get home back to young kid.
All right, mate. Well, that's a wrap for episode 7 of Behind the Bombers with the one and only Harry Block. Huge thanks to you, Harry, for being such a good sport and giving us a glimpse into the man behind the jersey. Make sure you tune in very shortly. We may even have a double episode coming up this week. So tune in. And once again, thanks, Harry.
My pleasure. Thanks, D-Train. Thanks for having me, mate. Go the Bombers.
Yeah, boy.